I have more than 10 sheets of questions. I don't know whether I can handle it all within this very short period of time, 20 minutes. So, all speakers, I would invite that your answer shall be short and concise because there will be a number of questions to be asked, right? Good, great. So, first question, addressed to Mr. Brian Jackson. Okay. How did you deal with politicians to achieve what you want?
Well, luckily our politicians share our values in terms of complete communities, and we are hired by them, we report to them, they have to, you know, put their egos on the line every 3 years to get reelected. We worked with them very well.
Okay, great. Okay. Yeah, give Brian a big hand, right? Okay. Second question, Mr. Andrew FASSAM, right? Is there any limitation legally to reclaim land around Marina Bay?
No.
Okay, thank you. Next question.
Sure.
This is for, well, it says for both speakers, and I'm giving this question to all of you. And short answer, please. Did you set up dedicated organizations to lead the Harbourfront development? What was the reason to set up new organization versus using or improving established procedure and existing organization? Yeah. So, understand the question. For those who have not answered, you can speak first. Maybe, John.
For us, we had a major amalgamation of 8 cities into one city in 2010. So that was the basis of pulling together a number of different agencies into one. And the main requirement for the new Waterfront agency was to deliver a integrated and holistic waterfront plan for the whole of the Harbourfront.
Okay, thank you. Catherine?
Mainly because there was fragmentation.
You have many organizations.
Yeah. And we still do, but there were more then. So it was set up because of fragmentation of coordination.
Yes. Okay.
So in Vancouver, we did not have a special agency to deal with waterfront development, and in Toronto we did, because again of the complexity of the issues and the levels of government involved.
Great. And David?
2 points. One is, I think, skill sets. We formed another department because we recognized that we needed to bring in people with other skills in terms of encouraging activation of the place, which weren't already available in-house. And ultimately, I think we're also looking towards, in the longer term, handing over the process to the stakeholders at large. And, for example, forming business improvement districts. So it doesn't necessarily mean that having formed a place management department, then that is forever. Actually, we would like that to be almost a transition stage to handing back management of the area to the business owners, residents, etc. in the area in the longer term.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Next question. Now, this one is very interesting for all of you, but the answer should be very short. Yeah. So this is from Vincent of Society for Protection of the Harbourfront. The question is, would you support a military dock with tight security at the central of the Harbourfront in your city? And would that be compatible with a vibrant and attractive Harbourfront? Question mark.
So in Vancouver's case, we have the opposite happening. We have our federal government wanting to leave our waterfront, and they're turning around trying to sell it for the highest and best use, like residential and commercial. So we do not have that kind of experience. So I would not want to weigh in.
Next.
We actually have a naval facility over at Garden Island, which isn't part of our remit because it's actually defence land, but there already is one.
Okay. And?
We do have such examples. There are obviously sometimes strategic requirements that are, you need to meet. But then it's a way of how that is integrated, how to allow for public access around the development, how to integrate it in terms of design, so it doesn't look like a sore thumb, a fenced-up, military installation. So it's a question of allowing integration.
Okay, great. Yes.
We only have 3 frigates, so it's not a big issue.
Okay. Nick, you want to answer this question, or give it a pass? I have another question, Paula. Okay, great. Yeah. This is a question for John or Brian. So, okay, get prepared. How is the protection and enhancement of natural features valued and incorporated into the message of living with rather than next to the harbour? For example, how are natural beaches, reed beds, native plants used to show the beauty rather than hard concrete walls at the land-water interface?
So in the example that I showed of the development of the Olympic Village, that the Foreshore included the construction of an artificial island, which actually added at a 2-to-1 ratio for the habitat for fish and for birds. So we actually added habitat as a result of the development. It's a very important part of the 3 legs of sustainability that I mentioned earlier.
Okay, great. Yep. And John?
Yes, in our waterfront plan, which is the strategic document which guides development on the waterfront for the next 30 years, one of the main goals is the blue-green waterfront, which fundamentally addresses the issue of water quality and how we improve water quality on the waterfront.
Great. Yes. Okay, another one for Catherine. What main ingredients would you recommend Nick? I suppose it's Nick Brooke, right? So what main ingredient would you recommend Nick to have in his team when he goes to our premier to ask for a mandate such as yours? Do you understand the question?
I think maybe just the triangular piece that says place development, place management. I suppose the problem with that model is that they're actually far more integrated, so they should be a Venn diagram, but yeah, with all those components in it.
And skill sets, as has been mentioned?
Yeah, well, we really have our specialist skill set is, and it's something I think that comes from doing the work and being in the sphere, but it's the combination of heritage and design skill, of course, along with specialist foreshore knowledge of development, and over and above that, a very competent, a cultural specialist creative team.
Okay, thank you. So question for all 4 of you. Okay, did your respective city Harbourfront development involve reclamation and the narrowing of the harbour?
So our city, long time ago, decided not to have any more reclamation, mainly for environmental reasons.
Yep.
And so the development that I showed you does not have any additional land that was added to create development.
Okay, great. Yes, Catherine?
Darling Harbour was initially developed on reclaimed land, but certainly there's no intention to do any further reclamation.
Right. And Singapore?
Yeah. Yes, we had quite extensive reclamation. But I think that there are limits. There's technical limits to the depths that you can reclaim that makes it feasible. Also for Singapore, I mean, we have very close neighbours, so there's a limit to how much we can get, how close we can still get to international borders without leaving space for ships to pass.
Okay, yes, and?
We have a very strong sentiment in the community, especially around the port, that we don't want to see any further reclamation, principally because of sightline protection, and also the issue of narrowing the waterway is seen as being adverse to the livable city concept.
Okay, thank you. Great. Another one from a university student asking Brian. Yeah. What kind of sacrifice did Vancouver make during the process of the development? For example, like reallocation of people. I think you're talking about rehousing or moving people. And how long does it take for this constraint last for?
So the areas that I showed were all former industrial land, so it didn't involve any relocation of existing populations. That being said, so the easy choices for Vancouver have been made in the past. If we do go into areas that have existing development, if the housing is rental, we have very strict controls to ensure at least a one-for-one replacement for rental housing. Okay,
good. Good and short answer. Right, and John, this is a question for you from a member of the Royal Hong Kong Yacht Club. How important it is to have an event facility on the water as the viaduct, and what happens there in between events?
I think it's an interesting conversation with the yacht clubs around community engagement, and certainly with the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron, we've seen a very positive working relationship with them around their youth program. And I think this goes to try to demonstrate to the community there are the many facets of yachting. And it's a sport that there's a perception around that it's elitist. But I think is what we've seen, that there are many ways for the yacht clubs to be able to engage with the community, engage with the industry, and with events for us such as America's Cup, there's some really positive economic contribution that comes out of this whole proposition.
Okay, so the staff are actually giving this sign to me, right? I cannot finish, I confess, but they are already doing very well to give us very short and concise answers. Give them a big hand. I only have 4 questions left. So that's the end of the Q&A session. So now, thank you very much for the active participation, thoughts, sharing, and response. You're doing a great job. And Harbourfront enhancement is not a single project, but gradual and continual evolution and improvement that will involve endless community participation and interaction, like what we have been doing, right? And this symposium just marked the beginning of our next journey, moving towards the setting up of a dedicated authority for our future Harbourfront. A condition if our politicians support. On behalf of the Commission, I would like to express our greatest gratitude to our overseas speakers who fly all the way from their home cities to share with us their most valuable experience in waterfront planning, development, and management. Thank you.